It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Oil Stream with a couple of hurting units, Dustin Nielsen and Tommy Gazzola, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. And nothing like watching or listening to The Oil Stream while crushing a Popeye's chicken sandwich. Get it today. I actually whipped through the location in Windermere over the last couple of days. And great location, tucked in right around the corner down there in Windermere. It's absolutely perfect. Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Hurting units is right. I mean, yeah. I'm sucking on a lozenge here, 3 hockey games, and then a couple of radio shows with some TV sprinkled in there. I know you've been running the gauntlet lately too. I just woke up today and I was like, oh my God, what happened to my body? Like, my back is still on fire. I don't know how you're holding up. And you were up at like 4 at the rink for 6 a.m. to do your show. And then
it was a long day yesterday, buddy. Like, I'm not built for 3 games in 5 hours anymore. Like, but it was a good time. It must have raised like $250,000 for Hockey Helps the Homeless. We had a couple beauties. We had Terrence Sandwith, who is next level beauty, and it was good catching up with Rob Klinkhammer. So that was fun yesterday. We had a good time. But then like when you finished playing, you went straight home to do pregame and obviously postgame, and I was just dead. I could have slept in the room after the 3rd game yesterday.
I remember you saying that to me, and I was like, I don't know how you're still awake. You and I got to sit by each other in the room. Great
Very
team.
tired.
Canadian Brewhouse team. And I immediately when I got home, I had to hop on for the Chronicles on the Jason Greger show.
Oh, right after, geez.
Strutty came right after me, man. Like, we beat them pretty good. Our team did.
Yeah, was it 9-3 or something? Like,
yeah, you scored a couple of nice goals.
Yeah.
I had one. I mean, me and Klink were magic out there with CTV's.
What was Strutty chirping? Come on.
He was chirping me. He's like, Tom wasn't ready on faceoffs. He wasn't ready on faceoffs. And it was because there was one faceoff where Rob basically won it back, but it was like 2 feet to my left, like beyond my stick length. And I was set up for the shot, and it went to our defenseman. So whatever, we still got an opportunity and another face-off. And I told Strutty, because he's like, you weren't ready. And I'm like, Struds, this one's coming to me, and I'm going to smoke it right into your ankles because of what you just said. That's how much I didn't appreciate what he said. And what happened was in the game prior, Klink and I were talking. He's like, you want to take a shot? I was like, yeah. And he worked it to a tee. I took the one-timer. And
you got that shot off on that one? I remember that.
It was good, right? Like, that's what we tried to do again. And the draw wasn't perfect, but Strutty said I missed it. And then, so I was like, oh, that's great, Struds. And then he gave you credit. He wouldn't let you get the hat trick too.
That bugger.
And then on top of that, I was like, Struds, it's convenient that you left out the fact that Klink and I and Will from CTV managed to bury like 4 or 5 goals, especially when he was on, because he was so lazy in his own zone.
Yeah, this guy, next level. Like, that first goal I scored, got past the 1D man, was just about to go make a shot, and Strutty hooks right in on my hands, pulls him back. I'm like, I turn around, the ref's like, penalty shot, and I scored on it, and then scored another one right after. And then the puck, the third one, I was heading off on a change. It was end of a shift, and all of a sudden the puck was just open inside the blue line. So I turn like a cruise ship, right? So I turn, and I get to it, and I see this streak of blue flying off the bench, and I was just like, look at Strutty trying really hard. So I tried to get a clapper off before he could get to me, but he tells me after, he's like, I was on the bench, and I saw you get, and I took off, and he goes, I wasn't letting you get a hat trick on my watch. I was just like, Strutty, you bugger. But yeah, that was funny.
It was great. And like, there's some really good hockey players out there yesterday. It was a lot there's some good pace. Like, we got beat pretty good by the Ice House team with Rob Brown, and man, they were really good.
Yeah, we got crushed in our second game. My goodness.
Yeah. And our team, I thought, was pretty good too. But it's funny, on your penalty shot goal, I'm sitting there on the bench, and Klink looks at me, and as you're going in, he goes, oh, that's not the angle you want to be taking in. And then you just, like a butter knife, cut through and deke, and then just tuck it home. And Klink looks at me. I look at him, and I was like, Do you even know what you're talking about?
I just went straight at the goalie. I was like, I'm just going to freeze him at the top of the crease and tuck it home. And it ended up working out. So, but yeah, that was a good time. It was a fun time yesterday for sure. But then, I mean, you get back, I came back home to my house, laid basically unable to move on the couch with my folks and my wife and watched the Oilers game last night. You had the pregame and then obviously the postgame as well, Tommy. Let's dive into it, man. I mean, wow. Like they crushed him again. I thought that was crazy last night. What was the biggest takeaway for you or from the post game last night with that team in that game last night?
Well, obviously Oiler fans are ecstatic, as they should be, with the last two results. I mean, you thought that the win in game 2, getting over that mental hurdle of breaking the losing streak and all of that, winning on home ice in front of fans for the first time in 5 years, basically. Like, so many boxes were checked off or things crossed off the list. And then they follow it up with a game where they smacked the Kings around for 8. And LA, honestly, Dusty, came out strong in the first period.
It wasn't a bad start for the Kings.
No, but as soon as the Oilers would get an opportunity and go back the other way, it was in the back of the net. Like, that tells me that this team is feeling it. The Oilers are. And that was an impressive victory. And I think people and the reaction from listeners yesterday is now I think they can grab hold of what they wanted to believe in and they can truly buy in with confidence. Whereas maybe after game 2, they're like, wow, that was awesome. But I don't know about game 3. It could go either way. LA's on home ice. They're going to want to punch back. And I think that game yesterday and that result reassured Oiler fans that they're in a good spot and this team is starting to feel it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, a couple of things. It's almost like I wonder if, like, as a core, like McDavid and Draisaitl, I know it was much more than just those two guys last night, but you know, I don't want to say as a franchise because this team's so different than the one that struggled against Winnipeg, but it's almost like they got that win on in game 2 and they're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we can win in the playoffs. Like, let's go do it again. And then they go and absolutely roll. I mean, a couple late goals that put it up over the top and made it look the way it was. But it was a pretty convincing victory from the Edmonton Oilers even before that at one point. And maybe the biggest thing for me coming out of that game is that the team put up 8 goals, and it was started by McDavid and Draisaitl. But then outside of that, man, I mean, not that those guys didn't play well, but it was Evander Kane with 3 goals. It was Hyman with 2. It was Nuge with 2. Like, the fact that your other key secondary guys played the way they did. I know Kane had 3, but I thought Hyman was bloody excellent last night. Like, I thought he was outstanding. Kane and Hyman have just changed everything for this team. Have they not, Tommy?
They have. I mean, they've added elements that were missing. Hyman dogged, the motor always running, with a scoring touch and just consistent all across the board with his play. There weren't and haven't been many nights this season where you could go and be like, well, Hyman was terrible. No,
that's true. You're right.
He's always very consistent.
His baseline is very, very steady, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there are a few games here and there. It's an 82-game schedule.
Not often, though.
You get a little bit banged up, but you're right. Like, the baseline and it's very consistent. That's a great way to describe it. And then Kane, just the sheer physical prowess of him, the scoring touch, the ability to score pretty goals and ugly goals, and the nastiness that he brings. Those are 2 elements that the Oilers sorely lacked last season. There's a couple other guys that have helped too, that are lower in the pecking order, that have kind of solidified this forward group. And
obviously Woodcroft. I mean, if you're looking at changes, right? Like, yeah.
But those 2 were the focal points last night for the Oilers offensively. They really were. And it's, I think, refreshing for the fans to see number 18 and number 91 leading the charge offensively instead of number 29 and number 97, who get a bit of a respite, which is a rarity.
You know who else I like last night from a physical standpoint? I don't know if I've said this about him much, but I thought Tyson Barrie was playing as a little bit of a prick last night. You know, he had that hit in the middle of the ice. He was scrumming things up. There was a couple times I was just like, oh, who was that? And I was like, oh, it's Tyson Barrie. Like, I thought Barrie played with a little bit of an edge last night.
There was that one scrum in front of the net where he kept jamming the guy's face into the ice. I can't remember if it was it like a Lazard or a Jersey or somebody? But he was mixing it up, and good for him. I mean, listen, he has his detractors. He has his issues.
He's got some flaws, right? Like, there's no doubt.
Flaws, but like the guy, you can't deny he shows up to play in the postseason, and maybe he's not putting up offensive numbers, but he's trying. He's trying, and generally it's been effective. Even last
I don't know if Tyson Barrie playing overly physical is going to punish the other team, but I just love the fact that he's whatever he's got, he's throwing it around. Like,
it's like he's the type of guy and his style of player that you're like, well, in the playoffs he probably goes MIA for a bit. No, he's mucking it up right there, and that's a great sign to see, and he's feeling it too.
All right, let's get to your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Of course, if you're buying or selling in the Edmonton market and the surrounding area, he's your guy. You can visit his website at kenrmorrison.com. You can give him a call, 780-993-4815. Not only is he a great realtor, he's one of you. He's a huge Oilers fan. He's a huge Elks fan. He's a huge fan of the Oil Stream. He's your everyday realtor. What can we say, right, Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, he's a crack packer now.
Evidently. Yeah, he cracks packs. He does everything. He's AM nasty. Like, he's fully on board. Tommy, what's the question today, man?
The Ken Morrison Remax Excellence question of the day is this, Dusty, as we look at our rundown and what we tease ahead. After these last two games, especially after last night's 8-2 victory, the Oilers defeating the Kings by a total score of 14-2 over these last two games, has Edmonton broken LA? Have they done so, considering the way they've beaten them? And I'll even throw in this. LA, I think, did everything it could, emptied the tank to try to get the result yesterday, and it didn't work. Have the Oilers broken the Kings, Dusty?
Yes. I think they've broken the Kings. I mean, and if you look at, are the Kings rattled? Look at their head coach last night. Todd McLellan, what did he do? 30 seconds? Didn't even take questions. And he basically came up, laid out a statement. That's it. Okay, got it. Done. And you covered Todd McLellan for a long time. I mean, he gets like that every once in a while. But he knows. I mean, the reason he might have been so pissed last night, and, from the coaching perspective, he's going to say, we weren't very good. But maybe inside he's thinking, like, I thought the Kings were very physical, more physical than they were in the first two games. Like, I was watching it with my dad last night, and Dad's like, man, the Kings are really physical tonight. And they were. So, like, the Kings, it's not like the Kings went through the motions and lost by how many they lost to. Like, I thought the Kings played very well to start the game, fell behind, kept pushing, kept playing physically. And I wonder if part of the reason McLellan's so pissed is that he knows that his team, might have been bringing all they were capable of, and it still ended up the way it ended up. So, yeah, I think it's – we got a question from Thomas here. He says, if they win game 3, is it over? Or game 4, is it over? If they win game 4, it's over. There's zero chance this Kings team's coming back down 3-1 against the Oilers. I'm very careful in saying the series is over right now because I thought when they were up on the Ducks back in 2017, I remember I tweeted, I was like, it's over. There's no way. And then, it ended up coming back to bite me in the butt there. But I think this thing's, they've outscored them 14-2 in the last two games. Like, it's not over, but I do think they've broke them, Tommy. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think McLellan was the perfect indicator of where the Kings are at, because what more can you do? Are you going to fix your special teams in a matter of 24 hours? Are you going to find the solution to the way the Oilers stymied the Kings? Like,
they just don't have the answers, man. Like, I just don't think the option is there, like a path to turning this thing around. I just don't see how it's there unless Mike Smith completely falls apart. And even in game 1, when he screwed up, he didn't completely fall apart. Like, he was still okay in that game, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think they're broken as well. I don't think it's necessarily over, and I think the Oilers still need to be razor sharp. And this is probably where Jay Woodcroft's really good, is keeping them focused and dialed in. Because if LA, which will be in desperation mode tomorrow night, we know that, if LA does come away with the win in that game, I still feel it will be because Edmonton lets off the gas, and Edmonton gives the Kings opportunities to get back into it.
One other area that I want to go, that's your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Have they broken the Los Angeles Kings? One other area I want to go to is the leadership of Connor McDavid in these playoffs. Like I've noticed it a little bit more. Like after every goal, it's almost like he's waiting. Everybody comes in. He looks at each of them. He goes, and then he kind of lets them go to the bench. And he sort of like it almost seems like he's a shepherd. Like he's herding these guys around and he's keeping the momentum going. Obviously, the physical play. I mean, he's finishing checks on a much more regular basis than any other time we've ever seen from Connor McDavid. But I don't know. It's watching the first two games at the rink and then watching this one on TV last night. It just seems like he's getting everybody involved, and you can just tell that there's something about this series so far, and maybe it's because the physical play has led to me focusing some of that other stuff more, buddy, but it just seems like Connor McDavid's level of intensity and leadership has been taken to another level in these 3 games.
And that's a great indicator, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I thought I pointed it out on the postgame show last night is, hey, did you guys see when they were on the bench and McDavid was celebrating with everybody, high-fiving all the guys, and then gave Jesse Puljujarvi a bunch of extra taps. And I'm like, that's for all those people that have been reading into the body language of goal celebrations and saying, boy, McDavid and Draisaitl don't like to give Jesse Puljujarvi all their emotion and attention after goals. And I thought that kind of countered that. So, I mean, the best players elevate at the toughest times of the year, and that's the postseason, and we're witnessing that right now. And it feels kind of like everything that Oiler fans wanted this team to be and for this team to make happen is starting to, very early, 2 wins, but it's starting to look like it's coming into place a little bit.
It was funny, the one thing you mentioned, because McDavid turned around, gave a couple high fives and turned around, and Jesse was kind of looking the other way, and he patted his head, and you saw Jesse be like almost like a puppy. He was just like, good boy, keep going. Like it was funny. Puljujarvi not good in game 1. It was clear in game 1 with all the special teams early on. He just didn't get into the rotation. Played 2 minutes in the first 16 minutes. They've managed to get those 5-on-5 lines rolling these last 2 games. And I've liked this game the last 2 games. He got goal and assist in the last 2 games. I think he's doing what he does for that line. Kane and McDavid are still the guys, but I think he's been doing the smaller things that have been helping. So, and it's his birthday today. He turns 24 years old today. So,
of course,
happy birthday.
Of course, we're doing an oil stream on his birthday. And
I'm going to
put it out there.
Wrap up the episode by singing happy birthday to Jesse Puljujarvi here, Tommy. I'm kidding. I don't sing. But yeah, no, you make a good point. It looks like, and it's still in the very early stages, and we're not talking about a cup run, but it looks like this team is starting to become what everybody has wanted since Connor McDavid was selected first overall, right? That's just the way to summarize these first 3 games.
Yeah. And where it goes, yet to be determined.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know for sure. Game 3 was great. Game 4 is going to be vital, obviously. Every game is very important, but I think tomorrow will be very telling as to where this team is at, but it's on to a good place. It's put itself on a great course so far, and this is where you need to stay completely in the zone, mentally sharp, focused. And if I want to be, I'm not going to be Debbie Downer, but
what are you doing here? What's up?
I'm not, no. And I'm not being Debbie Downer. If I want to nitpick something from the Oilers, it's the start. LA has brought it in all 3 games in the first 10 minutes. And the Oilers were on their heels. Even yesterday, they bent, they didn't break. Mike Smith was there when he needed to be for them. And then when the Oilers got their chances, they buried, specifically yesterday. But one thing that the Oilers might need to work on is just, hey, let's get a better start. Maybe let's not give up as much. I know LA poured it on heavy, but that's the only. That's not
a bad thing, because that's something that Woodcroft can have them focus on for game 4, right? Exactly. Guys, we've outscored them 14-2 and we're up 2-1, blah 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 blah. But we need to have a better start, something to focus on. So that could be. It could end up being a positive in the end. But Tommy's just pointing it out. He's right. They haven't been great right off the hop so far, but they've managed to roll the last 2 games, and they're looking like that wagon that we saw over the final month and a half of the regular season right now. So we'll see how the rest of it plays out. Tommy will be on the air with a pregame 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Tommy?
Yeah, you got to love those 8 8-15 starts.
Yeah, I know. Come on now.
I love this thing with Gregor. He actually asked Bettman about it.
Yeah.
And we ran it live on the show, and I'm like, oh, Bettman just lied to him because I'm staring at the ESPN broadcast of Boston, Carolina, and it says 8:15 start for Edmonton, LA.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
good.
it's yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's just hope that the Kings put the nets out in time next time. My goodness, was that a unnecessary discussion and waste of time yesterday? Like,
it just adds to all of this, and
yeah,
I bit on it yesterday. I thought it was funny, but it conjures up other good stories.
Yeah,
especially when I was talking to Cass and he talked about some things in the WHL days, and he's like, man, even in the AHL, like they would pour gravel in the hallways to the rink. So you'd go from the locker room to the rink and there would be like sand or gravel to chew up your skates.
Jeez.
It's brutal. Cranking up the heat, turning off the fans overnight so the gear wouldn't dry out in time and it would stink in the visitors' room. Klinkhammer told me when he was in one of his seasons in Russia, they actually made one of the equipment managers sleep in the visiting locker room for 4 days to make sure, like, because it's very religious there and they're very passionate about that, and the belief system in that is very strong. That so this equipment manager slept in the visitors' locker room for 4 days to make sure that the home team didn't send in a priest or some kind of witch to put a curse on the team and its gear. Seriously. And I was like, you're full of it. He's like, no, the guy slept and lived in that visitor's locker room to make sure nobody came and messed with our stuff and put a curse on it.
Commitment to win. Right. That's what you have to do for sure. So Tommy, I have pregame tomorrow. I'll probably watch for an Oil Stream in 5 popping up on the podcast feed tomorrow as well, just to get you ready for Game 4 between the Oilers and the Kings. It's all brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Tommy and I are about 2.5 hours away from the wedding of Lieutenant Eric and a fun night ahead, so it should be pretty good. I will see you in a little bit, buddy.
Can't wait, buddy. Bring your dancing shoes.